Welcome to the first official episode of Project Profit, a new series where I will be taking used items and try to flip them for a profit.
Oh, you know, just a couple options to choose from.
Is that a word? Uniformity? We'll have to circle back to see if I can even make a profit on these tables. And a quick thank you to Rachael for sponsoring today's video. Okay guys, I have some exciting news. This is the first episode of a new series I'm working on called Project Profit. Ooh. Throughout this series, I'll be finding secondhand items, whether they cost very little or no money. That could be on the side of the road, Facebook Marketplace, at the thrift store, and bring you through the process of how I upcycle them to give them a fresh new look. Now, if you don't know me, my name is Rachael, and you may know that I get a lot of satisfaction out of a good DIY or upcycle project. I mean, if you aren't familiar, just take a look at these lovely DIYs. I made these and I show you how. And I'm budget conscious, always. So the ultimate goal is to resell these upcycles for a profit, and then all the proceeds will go to a different non-profit organization each episode. Here at TheSorryGirls, we are always designing and DIYing, whether it's a room renovation project or a standalone project, big or small, and everything in between. So I have a bit of an advantage here because we have a huge supply room filled with leftover materials from past projects. So throughout this series, I'm gonna try my best to utilize what we already have, and that way I have to invest as little as possible into new materials, and we can keep those profits up. Okay, so hopefully you get the gist, but now let's chat about our first project. Not too long ago, I was scrolling on Facebook Marketplace and I came across these side tables. They were selling $15 for the pair, and at that price, I felt like they just had a lot of potential. So I drove over to the east end of the city to go pick them up.
Okay, I'm just pulling up to the house now, and I was just about to say I swear I've been here before, but I've also just been on a lot of Marketplace pickups, so I'm getting them all confused now. Don't need to be loved. I got $15. Also, this is what Canadian money looks like. Let's go check out these tables. Please just ignore all the other junk in my trunk. Literally. I mean, metaphorically. Wait, no. Literally. Both?
So I've already brought these to the studio and assembled them just to see what we're working with. And first of all, I am so thrilled that I was able to get matching side tables. I really hope that this is something that will add to the resale value. And first impressions overall, they were honestly in great condition. I didn't really check them when I picked them up, but they really just need to be cleaned up a bit. They got some tape and some dings here and there. But the glass tops are also almost in perfect condition, like very minimal scratches, if any. But right now, they're clearly too small for the top. Now I could trim down the tabletops to match the size of the glass, but because the glass is in such great condition, I then got the idea to actually create two different sets of matching side tables in completely different styles. Stay with me, okay? So with the glass set aside, and we'll get to those later on, let me tell you about my design plan for our first set of matching tables. So I saw these images on Pinterest, and what I really love about them are the pops of color that they offer and the kind of geometric feeling that they have. Now I know I'm not gonna get something that looks exactly like these, but this is what's gonna act as inspo for our tables. I'm thinking it could be nice to round out these bottom corners just to give it an overall softer look. Then go in with a lacquer paint to give it a protective finish and shine. Listen, I love a pop of color, but then I'm starting to think I am trying to sell these on Facebook Marketplace. So if I pick a pop of color, does that narrow down my audience of potential buyers? And so does that mean I need to try and cater to a wider audience and go with a more neutral color? But then the design I've chosen is kind of lends itself like Danish pastel, it's fun, and it needs a pop of color. But then it's like, what pop of color? Because my pop of color could be yellow, while yours is lavender. And then do I just make this decision for someone? Because if I'm gonna go to the trouble to lacquer these tables, I don't want someone to wanna refinish them afterwards. But then once they buy them, isn't it just out of my hands and then it doesn't really matter? So, okay, so I have one of the table leg panels here, and I know I want to round these bottom corners. So I'm gonna trace just a random object, like this tape roll. Now, with my piece clamped to the table, I'm just gonna cut that shape out using this jigsaw. So then I just gave these corners a quick sand, and now that I'm happy with this shape, I'm actually gonna use this to trace onto all the other leg panels, just so that they're as symmetrical as possible. But I'm just gonna repeat that a couple more times. So now that I have all my pieces cut out, I actually just clamp them all together because this is my favorite way to sand the leg pieces. It will ensure the most uniformity. Is that a word? Uniformity?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, while it is a nice feature that these are collapsible, I am a bit concerned that once I do lacquer them, the taking them apart and putting them back together will end up like damaging that nice coating we've put on it. So I am making an executive decision to glue the whole table together. I'm just gonna go in with some wood glue. Come on, let's go. Who knew that this glue would exhaust me more than anything else?
Would you like the other glue?
No, it's fine. Oh. Okay. Okay. What am I doing? I don't know if this was the best way to do this, but this is what I'm doing, so. Noise. This has been mentioned many times before, but you can clean up wood glue with a wet rag. Just doing the other legs. That was much easier. As well as some brad nails just in the top so that that's nice and secure. And then once that's finished, I'll go in with some wood filler just in the seam to clean up that space. And then to finish it off, I'm gonna go in with some spackle just around the outer edges of the MDF, just so that it doesn't feel like MDF in the end. So once the filler was dry, I then went in and sanded the whole thing to get it ready for our primer paint. I've gone in with 2 layers of primer up until this point, and don't worry if you get any paint drips or anything, because you want to sand in between each layer of paint. This is really important to get it as smooth as possible at this stage, because once this whole thing has a glossy layer on it in the end, you're gonna see any sort of imperfections from certain angles, just depending how the light hits it. Now I'm ready to go in with what is hopefully my final coat of primer. Always make sure you shake well. Okay, our primer layers are all done, but now I want to head to the store because I still need to pick out a paint color, and I'm kind of just hoping to get inspired there. So, let's go. Oh, you know, just a couple options to choose from. Okay, I'm back from Home Depot and I've chosen a paint color, and I want to show you guys, but first, I'm going to take a second to talk about today's sponsor, Ritual. So I've been looking for a multivitamin for quite some time. I just want something with clean ingredients and a label that even I can understand. You know, just an average person. And that's when I came across Ritual. Ritual's Essential for Women 18 Plus multivitamin is not only vegan, gluten-free, and formulated without major allergens, but it's also traceable, meaning that 100% of the active and other ingredients like iron, vitamin D and E, magnesium, which support everything from brain to bone health, as well as antioxidant support, can be traced to the supplier and the final place of manufacturing. And I think that's pretty cool. There are also no added colorants and it's USP verified. What does that mean? And aren't all vitamins USP verified? The USP verified mark verifies that the nutrients on the label are 1, present at all claimed levels, 2, are available to be absorbed by the body, and 3, do not contain harmful levels of unwanted impurities such as heavy metals and pesticides. And no, not all vitamins have this verification. Can you believe that? Ritual's delayed release capsules are designed to dissolve later in the small intestine, which is the ideal place to absorb nutrients. And did I mention they taste minty? So if you're looking to introduce a quality multivitamin with clean and amazing ingredients, consider the Essential for Women 18 Plus multivitamin by Ritual. You can click the link in the description for 30% off your first month with my code SorryGirl30. I'm gonna go take my multivitamin now. Oh, and the paint. So I've decided to go with this turquoise color. And if you like it, that's great. Hopefully the buyers do too. I gotta be honest, I did feel a little bit limited by the spray paint options that were in store. Maybe this just means in the future I will invest in a spray paint gun. That way I can use any color. But I was intrigued because this is designed to be a lacquer spray paint, which is the look we're going for. So I'm just gonna take you through the DIY process of using the spray paint can. This is our first purchase of the video and each can costs about $16. I bought 3 of them and hopefully they will cover both our tables. So I made some adjustments since we've gone in with the primer. I'm adding this adapter to our can to give me more control while I'm painting, as well as more comfort with the trigger. And my finger won't tire so easily this way. I set up the spray paint tent outside and actually stole the Lazy Susan from the kitchen. And now I can rotate our tables so much more easily. I am gonna jump into my jumpsuit and we're gonna start painting. So my table has been wiped down of any remaining dust, and to get an even finish, you wanna remember a couple things here. When spraying, I'm working from top to bottom, and I'm making sure that I'm holding my can about 5 to 6 inches from the piece itself. This will help you to get even coverage and avoid any paint drips, as well as trying to overlap the edges of my strokes. The lacquer paint dries pretty fast, so once I was done with one layer, I was able to start from the beginning and go over it again, and in the end, we ended up with 3 layers in total. But once the base was dry, I then flipped it over and did the same to the top. This lacquer spray paint adds an ultra hard factory-like finish, so I'm glad I didn't have to buy more than one product to get this effect that we're going for. Okay, our lacquer tables are all finished finally, and I want to show you guys how I styled them for our marketplace photos. I think these turned out so nice. I love the shine of this lacquer, and I have already put them up online, and I've been getting some messages, but I'm not going to tell you what our best offer is yet, because we'll have to circle back to see if I can even make a profit on these tables, but stay tuned. For now, let me tell you what the design plan is for our glass tops. Okay, so what I'm thinking is I'm going to create a cylinder base for our glass to rest on. Then I'm going to create another disc that will go on top, and it will give the illusion that our glass is embedded in the base. Then I'm going to cover the whole thing in some plaster just to give it some nice texture, and then I'll go in at the very end with a nice coat of a dark charcoal color because I think it'll give it a nice expensive finish in the end. Starting with some builder's tube, I picked this up from Home Depot for about $10, and this tube has an 8-inch diameter. And I'm just measuring this in half so we can get 2 bases for our glass from the one tube. Here I am just marking all the way around and then connecting that line with a sewing measuring tape. Then using a handsaw, I carefully cut along that line. Looking good. Next, I wanted to work on the cap that will rest on our glass. So I went into the storage room to see what we had in our wood scraps, and I found this thick piece of MDF that I think will be perfect. This piece is roughly 2 inches thick, and I'm just using a technique I shared with you all back when I was making this Christmas tree skirt. So I do go more in depth on this in that video if you are interested, but essentially I have my router tool loaded with a straight bit, and I've attached it to this homemade circle jig where I can plant a screw at my desired radius and plunge that tool into the wood multiple times to create a perfect circle that is the same diameter as our builder's tube. Then I just took a moment to visualize how our side tables were looking with the glass. This is something that I like to do when I'm making something for the first time, because this is also when I realized that maybe they were a bit too tall. And I mean, yes, the couches in our office are definitely on the lower side, but they still felt too tall for the look I was going for. So I trimmed off about 6 inches from our builder's tube and tried them again. Okay, so I made them shorter and I'm definitely feeling better about this height. Essentially, this base is what is getting covered with the plaster, but I am having one concern right now, and I do feel that the top is a bit heavy compared to the bottom. So I think what I'm gonna do is cut some more circles with our router tool, and then we will fill the base with cement. And now I'm just using some wood glue to adhere the disc to the builder's tube. I just used some painter's tape to help hold these pieces together while the glue had some time to dry, and then we were ready to add the concrete to our base. I'm just gonna throw this mixture into our bases. I'm probably only gonna fill it up about 2 inches. I let that concrete set overnight, and now it is the following day and I'm getting ready to add our plaster to the outside. First, I attached the top disc with some more wood glue, and instead of going in with painter's tape, I'm now adding this mesh drywall tape. For the plaster, I'm using some drywall compound that we had left over from when Becky and Kelsey plastered the whole outside of our storage room. So I'm just mixing 2 parts powder to 1 part water, and the first layer is gonna go on very, very thin. Pretty much just aiming to cover the whole thing. You can literally see the grid lines where the tape is. That is how thin I'm making this first layer. Once that first layer is completely dry, I was ready to go in with a second layer. This time I'm being more deliberate with the plaster, letting my spatula almost do the work here, making it thinner and thicker in different areas to overall create some visual interest. Okay, ready to put the finishing touches on these, and I'm really happy with them so far. I think the weight feels really good. I do like the way this white plaster looks, but I also really want to paint them because I feel like once they're like a deep charcoal color, that they'll really just look a lot more expensive. But before I do that, I actually want to do some sanding to especially the tops and the bottoms of these discs, because these are the areas that I'm going to use to adhere these to the glass at the end. Now, because this is so textured, I'm pretty much just pushing in some areas where there's lots of nooks and crannies, but this probably would have been easier to do with a sponge. But I've already started with the brush, so it's doing fine. Okay, I'm all finished painting and sealing our table bases, and I really like this dark gray color. I feel like it kind of gives them like a lava rock feeling. Now I just need to let these dry for a while, and then we are ready to assemble our table. I'll be going in with some E6000, which is an industrial strength adhesive, to glue our wood pieces to the glass. Okay, it's been some time and I have some exciting updates about our tables, but first let's talk costs and see how our plaster tables turned out. So we know I spent $15 for the original pieces, and that would bring my starting cost per table to $3.75. Totaling all my expenses and free expenses, LOL, on these plastered side tables, I only ended up spending $8.95 per table. Not bad at all. I'm actually very happy with those margins, and I think they look quite high end. So when I posted these on Facebook Marketplace, I actually got an offer for $110 for the both of them. I was like, they're yours. I accepted it, and now those plaster tables are sold, making our grand profit so far $92.10. That's huge. I'm excited about that. I'll need you guys to comment down below with any nonprofit or charitable causes that are important to you, and we will use those to donate to throughout this series. Now onto our lacquered tables. Totaling all of my costs, including what I was able to get for free from the storage room, my cost per table was $27.64. Now that's a little bit higher than I would have liked to have spent, but the cost to spray paint these days, man, so high. Now I have received some offers from potential buyers, but the highest bid I've been offered so far is $40. Now I'm gonna counter that at $50. So these haven't been sold yet, but you'll have to stay tuned for the next episode, and hopefully I'll be able to update you guys with how much they sold for, if they sell at all. I want to say thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed this first episode of Project Profit. Also, let me know what you would have done with these tables in the comments down below. You guys are so creative. I feel like there's a million ways we could have gone, but until then, I'll see you in the next episode. Bye guys.
I want to take a free item and upcycle it and see who can sell it for the most amount of money. I just said I was very confident in my upcycling ability, but this is more of like a DIY from scratch to turn this into a sweet coffee table. It could be done. Can I do it in a day? I don't know.
It's still available. Trust me, I will take down the ad once it's no longer available.